Okay, it says we're live, so let's trust that we're live. Good evening today, everybody. Today is, of course, Thursday, November 2nd. Time flies. We're already in November. And as everybody knows, I can't even say election day. It's election time, right? Because of early voting. But election day is now 5 days away. And with early voting, it's already started. So very pleased tonight to have Catherine Corella, who's running for Suffolk County Legislature for the 17th Legislative District. She's a Republican, and she's joining us tonight. So thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
So as I always lay the groundwork, we're friends. We've known each other for quite some time. It's of course good to see you. But I always tell people if I know somebody, if I don't know somebody, and we're friends. So,
and we met when I was a Democrat.
And our friend Eric asked the question. So you're now a Republican. So I guess we'll start with that and then jump into the race. So what made you switch from being a Democrat to a Republican?
When cashless bail came out.
And you just felt like it was.
It's not that it came out. It's the offenses that were added to it, which were violent offenses. When I saw that was added, have you ever had anything disgust you so much you got to jump in and like say whoa?
Every day. Yeah.
That's what I did. Yeah.
Okay, so it's been a couple of years now. So you ran at one point earlier, right? A couple of years ago, if I remember correctly. So
yes, for Town of Babylon town clerk.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this race, Catherine. This is for the legislature in Suffolk County. Where exactly is the 17th legislative district?
That is, of course, Suffolk County, but it incorporates Deer Park, a little bit of North Bayshore, Dix Hills, Huntington, South Huntington, West Hills, and Melville. A little slab of North Babylon.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with these maps. Nassau County, Suffolk County, really, I think anywhere.
Especially they got redistricted this year, so it's a new playing field for me and the incumbent. So some of it's still the same, some of it incorporated a new area. So it's kind of new to some areas for the both of us.
So what motivated you to run this race, and what are your top three issues in this race?
The top three issues. What motivated me was to be involved, and I'm not just like you. I mean, we talk about politics, we talk about local government, we talk about national politics, but we're not the type to just complain and then do nothing. We're doers when we complain about something. And I always say the same thing. If you're going to complain about something, have a solution, or at least try to find a solution. So that's what I always do. I try to jump in and, instead of complaining, how do we fix it? And I always feel that more residents should be involved and play an active role, because that's why the government was initially formed in the very, very beginning, for people to get involved and be our government, not just the government be this big, powerful thing where it takes over like it has. It's to be like the taxpayer is my boss, or would be my boss, not the other way around, where I'm bossing the taxpayers around.
Catherine, let me re-ask that question, because instead of saying the top three, which is just kind of an arbitrary number I came up with, just tell me your motivation for running. Why are you running? It doesn't have to be three reasons. What's your most important reason or reasons for running?
To establish to always help improve the quality of life. I have 5 kids, 4 live out of state, and the baby's going to college next year, and I want her to be able to stay here in New York and make a great living and do the American dream that my parents, who were not born and raised here, wanted for us kids. And I want the same for her, all of them, to be able to stay here. Why not? Why do I have to stay to be a FaceTime grandma? I want to be able to hug and hold them. I want to see my daughter stay in the state and to be able to thrive and have a great career. That's my ultimate goal. And my goal is the same as everybody else's. Everybody wants their kids to stay here and flourish and thrive. You do.
Right.
That's what I want, and that's what everybody else wants. That's the goal.
So affordability being probably the biggest issue. Is that where you see it?
The number one is, housing affordability. It's just way too expensive here. It's just it's outrageous, and that's the reason why my 4 older ones just I didn't want them to struggle and, pay rent or pay a $4,000, $5,000 mortgage, which they probably would be paying on top of student loans, and, so this way, yeah, we need housing affordability for the young people to live here, to be able to buy a home or to rent an apartment or a condo, and that's just seems like so out of touch right now for them.
I read an interview you did recently, I think with Patch, and you mentioned something about water. What tell me about the quality of water issues that you're raising in your
Well, it's very hard to have good, clean, quality water when we have cesspools on the island. And although they're eventually going into becoming sewers, but it's not fast enough. It's not quick enough. I myself have 2 cesspools, and I'm worried because they were put in 1958, and I'm afraid of a collapse. Just like anybody else, water leakage of wastewater into the ground. And then what? We drink it. It's in our water system. We need to invest into water, clean water for Hyperion plants. They have them in other states where they treat the water, they clean it, and we need sewer water. We need sewers for the water. I mean, it's to me, it's just like basic, like cesspools. It's just not a good thing. It's just not. It never was, and I can't believe we still have it in this day and age in a congested area like this.
It always strikes me that clean water is something that we don't always have to argue about when we're talking about Republican versus Democrat, right? This is just, it's one of those things I'm not sure why it ever becomes partisan. Like everybody wants clean water, right?
You know what? Everybody wants clean water, but nobody wants to put that in the forefront. Instead, they're putting parties in front of clean water, which that makes no sense to me. It was should have been on the ballot to begin with for people to vote on it, but it wasn't. And that's the Republican side. But you know what? I'm more like you. I'm more moderate, where I have see the common sense and the goal. How we get there, who cares? As long as we achieve that goal, which is clean water, safe water.
Well, listen, this is very much a conversation, so I interject my opinion where I think it's appropriate, and I agree with you completely. I applaud you for being open-minded on that issue. I
Well, you
personally am
you
double.
know me. I'm very open-minded. I see both sides.
Right.
If I didn't need the support, I would have been independent. But you know what? I should have been that anyway because I got no support. So on either side. So
Well,
I'll put it out there.
it's interesting you bring that up. We'll take a little tangent on that, but the role of parties, it's difficult to run as an independent anywhere. You don't see independents running for the presidency, although this year we might be seeing Bobby Kennedy running, but he is running. But on a local level, it's in New York State, it's very hard to run as an independent, and you almost have to have a party, right, Catherine? It's almost impossible to do it without the parties.
Well, you know what? I had the party support when I got nominated, and then they backed off in June. So I've been doing this not by myself, but a strong support of supporters, but not the party.
Okay.
So no,
Understood.
yeah.
Understood. Yeah, and how's the campaign been going? I mean, what are you hearing from people when you meet people and
Uh, I I hear a lot of good things. I do. It takes a strong candidate to stay up against the party. Where the Suffolk County GOP is supposed to be this big and powerful entity, but you know what? It's not. And so I stayed true. And everybody asked me, "How come you don't have the party support? How come you don't have? What happened? You got the nomination. How come you don't have the support?" I'm like, "Ask them. Look who you're voting for. Look, why are you supporting the party if they don't support the candidates?" So but it's going good. I have a really good network of volunteers, and we've been on the ground door knocking, especially these next few days. We're going to focus all over, mostly Deer Park, Huntington, Melville. um, it's just been amazing, and a lot of people are very, very supportive. Even Democrats are supportive of the ones that I've talked to. So, and it's not just the party. I think they're just supportive of me personally. When they hear me talk, I don't sound like a Republican. I don't sound like a Democrat. I just sound like like them, a resident who pays high taxes and is tired of not having anything to show for it. So,
And Catherine, just shed a little light on your background. You didn't grow up on Long Island, right? You grew up in California, if I remember correctly.
yep, in the Los Angeles area. Yep. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to a school friend of mine. He says, you don't sound like you're from California anymore. And I said, no, I don't feel like that's my home state anymore. I think because I made New York my home state. But I got to be honest with you, no matter where I live, I'm going to want to make improvements in it to continue improving no matter where I live. It's like wherever you buy a house, you always want to fix up your house to make the surrounding area look nice. It's the same thing with here. I like where I live. I love Long Island.
Yeah. And I don't know, folks, if the screen looks a little scratchy, but if you can hear Catherine, I can hear you clearly. It's just the screen's a little.
Okay.
I don't know if that's internet or what that is exactly. But Catherine, let me ask you a question. New York City has been struggling with this migrant crisis for a while now. It's a hot button topic. The issue about what to do. Some people don't like the term migrants, so they prefer asylum seekers. I don't distinguish between either migrants, asylum seekers, whatever you want to say. But there are a number of people who are now in New York City awaiting their asylum process and so forth. And there's a question about what happens if they start to. There was a movement to relocate them to Suffolk. I think there was a plan to bring them to the airport.
Yeah, there was.
What are your thoughts about the whole situation?
Well, when Biden allowed all these people to come through, I just thought it was poor planning and poor management. You don't have it. You know what? I always put it like this. It's like having a huge house party. You're inviting all these people without food, beverages, or space. Doesn't make any sense to me. When you plan something and you're having massive people over or accommodating, whether it's a reception or whatever, you always make sure you have this so everybody feels comfortable, everybody has access to food and a chair or whatever. I think that should have happened here. Okay, so it didn't. So now what do we do? Okay, so you can't be shipping people off without having some type of a plan. And these people are coming in for one reason, just like my parents. They want to obtain the American dream. It doesn't have to be the best house, the best neighborhood. They want to work. They want to have a place to live. And if you were coming from that country, I bet you would be too. I know I would be. I would have my kids strapped to my back trying to cross to try to give them something. Imagine being in a country like that where there's no hope, no opportunity, nothing but crime, drugs, violence, corruption. I mean, they want to feel safe. They're just looking to work. And I feel like there has to be a plan in motion. We need to find a way to speed up the process for them to work, to become documented. We need to allocate funds for healthcare, for education. We need to spread awareness of acceptance and inclusion for these people. Back when I was growing up, they were called illegal aliens. And it was a scary term, but that's so dehumanizing. We just need to show a little bit of more humanitarian effort for these people who are struggling. They're not here for handouts. They're just looking for opportunity like everybody else, So I feel like if we speed the process so they can work, there are jobs out there. And again, we need affordable housing to house these kids that want to go to school and learn. And that's my take on that. Maybe it might be unpopular, it might be popular, but that's how I feel. My parents, they had an opportunity and they took it and they made the best of it.
And your parents came from where exactly, Catherine?
Mexico and Cuba. So, and my dad still has family in Mexico, and they decided to stay there and make a living. I have a cousin over there who's a doctor, and my uncle was a professional baseball player in Mexico. So, they live a decent life, but not everybody's that lucky. My dad had a third grade education and came over here, and it didn't enthusiastically didn't want to continue his education, but he became a business owner. So he did, and he became a naturalized citizen. It took him a while, but he did. Yeah.
And Catherine, I know you've been involved in the community even before this campaign. What are some of the roles you've served in? You've been active in the civic association and stuff like that in Deer Park. You've been active in the community, schools, and so forth.
Right. Well, it started when Alexa started pre-K, and I got involved with the PTA. I became a class mom, PTA, and then of course they went on to becoming a Girl Scout leader, then the Civic Association, then Chamber of Commerce, Kiwanis chapter. Just try to make improvements along the way with all these organizations. And the minute they become established, then I would move on to something else. So it wasn't created just to be a head honcho in those. It's just now that they're thriving and they involved a lot of community members. So it's nice to see something that you created grow into something that's like, wow, that you started something like that, and it benefits the community.
Yeah. And folks, I apologize if Catherine's it seems a little pixelated, but we can hear you loud and clear. So I don't know, it's probably the internet, but
That's probably better.
the other way around. If it was me who was being blurred out, I think people would be much happier. But I look at myself. I'm afraid to do these, Catherine. I look at myself week by week, and I say I'm getting older. Like I'm aging in dog years. Every week is like 7 weeks. I look like 7 weeks older than I was just a week ago. But anyway, tell us a little bit more about this campaign, Catherine. What do people need to know in closing? I mean, election day's coming on Tuesday. What's your closing argument? What do people who are undecided in this election need to know about you?
What they need to know is look up your candidate. What do they stand for? What are their values? If you resonate with them, if you share their values and what they stand on the issues, and vote for that person. Voting party lines does not work. It doesn't. And that's crazy because not all candidates are alike. Not all Republicans are the same. Not all Democrats are the same. There's good and bad in every single party. You got to choose your candidates wisely because you're going to be stuck with that candidate. And then you're going to be like, why did I choose that? Because just read up on them and see what they stand for. Are they a career politician to where they're just going with the status quo, or are they going to be your voice and be strong and want to get heard and benefit you, the resident, the taxpayer that pays their salary? Because remember, you're the boss. And so you want to make sure that that candidate is working for you, not for the government.
Do you feel a little liberated? As a follow-up on that, Catherine, do you feel you mentioned the Republicans aren't actively supporting, I guess, the party, but you feel a little liberated? I know it came with challenges that you had to work, to do a lot on your own, but you feel a little liberated that you don't have any allegiances. You can just kind of get into office and do what you need to do.
I was just following up on a post on, yes, I have no allegiance to any donors or anything like that. I do it myself, and I see it as, like I tell everybody, I'm the battered consumer, I'm the high tax paying resident, and I have a child in school. And so, yeah, I don't answer to anyone, but to the people who I speak to when I hand out the literature, I always tell them they can ask me anything they want because government transparency and accountability is number one to gain the public's trust. If the government does not have their trust, then they're not functioning for the constituent. They're functioning for themselves and their own pockets, plain and simple. And it's nice to be able to say whatever you want to say.
What happens after win or lose on election day? I ask this of all candidates, and I see the hard work that everyone puts in, leading up to election day. You're gonna get some rest after election day, take a break.
Actually, yeah, I am. I'm taking I'm taking a break and spending some time with my daughter and going back to work more full time and actually get some housework done and pay attention to my dogs.
Right. Well, listen, thank you very much, Catherine. Election day is on Tuesday, of course, folks. Early voting is underway. And Catherine Corella was our guest tonight. She's running for Suffolk County Legislature for the 17th Legislative District. I guess that's considered to be more Western Suffolk County, the area you described earlier. So, Catherine, thank you so much for being on tonight.
Thank you so much, Ray, for having me. I appreciate it. I really do.
Okay, good seeing you. Thank you, Catherine.
Good seeing you too. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Good night.